Welcome to our deep dive into Dreams from My Father by Barack Obama.
Oh, okay.
It's this really captivating memoir where he kind of shares a bunch of his personal journey and his family history and his reflections on, kind of race and belonging and stuff.
Right.
And today, we're kind of trying to figure out how all these events sort of shaped his worldview and what it reveals about race, family, and belonging, specifically in America.
I think it's really interesting how his story kind of challenges some common assumptions we have about racial identity.
Yeah.
Especially given his really unusual upbringing, in Hawaii with his white grandparents.
Right, yeah.
It's a very unique lens.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting how he initially didn't experience really any racial self-doubt. Like it almost seemed like race wasn't a thing for him.
Yeah.
And there's this really great story about his grandfather, telling tourists that Barack was descended from Hawaiian royalty.
Oh, wow.
Which kind of shows, the atmosphere around it.
The very supportive environment. Yeah.
Exactly.
But, that kind of upbringing also delayed his confrontation with racial prejudice.
Right.
Which really only began when he transitioned to a predominantly white school.
Yeah.
And I think that's really when his search for identity began.
Yeah.
Prompting him to kind of look into his absent Kenyan father and his Luo heritage.
Right.
And he was trying to reconcile these stereotypes with the reality of, African identity.
So for our listener, the Luo people are a big ethnic group in Kenya.
Yeah.
They're known for having this very rich cultural heritage. So he's trying to figure out this heritage while navigating this very white environment.
Exactly.
And then he meets his father, finally at age 10.
Yeah.
You would think it would be, this purely joyful reunion.
Right.
But the book actually paints a very different picture.
It's much more complicated than that.
Yes. Much more complicated.
It seems like he built up this very idealized image of his dad.
Right.
Which, reality just couldn't live up to.
Of course.
And then you have his father's cultural background.
Right.
And his very different views on parenting and stuff.
Yeah.
That adds a whole other layer of difficulty.
Exactly. Yeah.
For the listener, this isn't just some family drama.
Yeah.
This is a clash of cultures. It's showing how societal expectations shape even our most intimate relationships with our own parents.
Yeah. So his father's academic aspirations and this very strict demeanor really contrasted with Obama's life in Hawaii. It really disrupted their family dynamic.
Oh.
He even says it was like goblins were set loose.
Oh, my God.
And when his father left, there was this void left behind.
Right.
And it pushed Obama further down this path of self-discovery.
Makes sense.
So now we're getting into his teenage years.
Okay.
And now he's dealing with adolescence in this whole question of race and belonging.
Right.
And he's trying to find guidance from some of the older black men he meets in, this multiracial Hawaii.
Yeah, it's during this time that he starts to confront these really subtle racial dynamics.
Yeah.
Especially in a place as diverse as Hawaii.
Yeah.
And there's this one anecdote that I think is very telling.
Yeah.
He has this encounter with a racist tennis pro.
Oh, wow.
And it just reveals how, even as a teenager,
right,
Obama was already directly confronting prejudice head on.
Wow.
It's really interesting.
So did that experience lead him to look more into black literature?
I think so.
Like Malcolm X's autobiography?
Yeah, that book really resonated with him.
Okay.
The idea of self-creation really spoke to him.
But his journey was different than Malcolm X's, right?
Very much so.
Yeah.
His path was about forging his own unique way.
Right.
He was acknowledging this in-between space he occupied.
Between the white and black world.
Exactly.
And there was this yearning for authenticity that you could feel.
Absolutely.
It wasn't just about picking sides. It was about understanding his identity within this society that often wants to put people into these very rigid classifications.
Exactly.
So now he's at Occidental College in L.A.
Big change from Hawaii.
Huge change.
Yeah.
Imagine going from the familiarity of Hawaii to this predominantly white institution.
Yeah.
And he's very open about his discomfort and his disillusionment, especially with this idea of integration being like a one-way street.
Yeah. Let's break that down for our listener.
Yeah, what does that mean?
So one-way integration.
Yeah.
It's this idea that marginalized communities, they're expected to assimilate into the dominant culture.
Okay.
But without any reciprocity or any real acknowledgement of their own unique experiences.
Wow.
It's basically placing the burden of change solely on the people who are trying to be included.
Right, yeah.
And Obama saw this firsthand.
Yeah.
He saw how mixed-race individuals often felt pressured to distance themselves from blackness.
To fit in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he even talks about this one tense conversation he had with a classmate.
Okay.
Who felt like she had to erase part of herself.
Wow.
Just to be accepted.
It's like she was being forced to choose.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it really highlights, the limits of integration and just how persistent these racial divides really are.
It makes you think about what inclusion really means.
Definitely.
And this ongoing battle for racial equality that we have here.
In America.
Yeah, exactly.
The long road.
So in the midst of all this, he decides to leave his corporate job.
Right.
And pursue community organizing in Chicago.
What a shift.
What prompted this, huge change?
Well, initially he wanted to organize black folks.
Okay.
To make change.
Yeah.
But it was more than just racial solidarity.
Okay.
It was this yearning for purpose and a deeper connection.
Yeah.
And he was really influenced by Regina, who was this experienced organizer.
Okay.
And she challenged him, really challenged his motives.
Oh, wow.
She encouraged him to think bigger.
Yeah.
To look beyond just his personal redemption.
So this was like a turning point for him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It shifted his focus from self-discovery to this broader pursuit of social justice.
Yeah.
He realized it wasn't just about him.
Right.
It was about connecting to a larger struggle. Recognizing the shared humanity that binds us all.
I like that.
Me too.
So now he's on the south side of Chicago.
Wow.
Experiencing firsthand poverty, unemployment, and this systemic racial disparity.
Oh, heavy stuff.
Yeah, he really paints these vivid pictures of his interactions with the residents.
Yeah.
Especially these insightful conversations he has in barbershops.
Okay.
About Chicago's first black mayor.
Interesting.
They're really insightful.
Yeah.
And it gives you these glimpses into the complexities of black communities.
Right.
And their relationship with institutions.
Yeah.
He was learning from seasoned organizers, navigating internal politics, witnessing the challenge of enacting change from within the system.
It's a lot.
Yeah, and his work in Altgeld Gardens really stands out as impactful.
Tell me more about that.
So it's this neglected public housing project.
Okay.
And it's where he truly learned about empowering residents to take action.
Interesting.
And advocate for themselves.
Yeah. And there's this really poignant story about a campaign he led to get rid of asbestos contamination in Altgeld Gardens.
Wow.
It really showed the resilience and resourcefulness of residents in the face of adversity, but also highlighted the immense systemic barriers they face.
So he was really grappling with those limitations of community organizing.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, seeing the power of collective action.
Yeah, to bring about positive change.
And then amidst all of this, he embarks on this transformative journey to Kenya.
Right. It wasn't just a homecoming.
No.
It was a reckoning with the past.
Yeah.
A real quest to understand his father's life and legacy.
And it was a chance to connect with his extended family, right?
Of course, and immerse himself in Kenyan culture.
I love the part where his Aunt Zaituni tries to inherit his another relative's car.
Oh, yeah, that was hilarious.
It's so funny.
It's just like a really great example of those strong family bonds.
Yeah, even across continents.
Exactly.
But his visit to his father's rural village, I think, was especially profound.
Definitely.
He really reflects on his family's history there.
Yeah.
Confronts the legacies of colonialism and poverty in Kenya.
It's a lot to take in.
And through these experiences, he starts to piece together a more complete picture of his father.
Right.
Recognizes his ambitions, his contradictions, and ultimately his unfulfilled potential.
Yeah, it's really moving.
There's this one part where he talks about his father's pride and his fear of judgment. It reveals this deeper level of empathy and understanding.
He wasn't looking for this perfect image of his dad anymore.
No.
He was accepting the fact that he was a complex human being.
With flaws and all.
Exactly.
And the circumstances that shaped him. So he's not seeking a single answer about his father's identity anymore.
No. He's embracing the many facets of his father's being.
Yeah.
Recognizing both the positive and the negative.
It's about accepting the whole person.
I think so.
Yeah.
You know, with all their complexities.
There's this really poignant anecdote about him visiting his father's grave.
Oh, yeah, with his half-brother Roy.
Yeah, and Roy is really frustrated that the grave is unmarked.
Yeah, he wants that recognition for his dad.
It's like this yearning for acknowledgement,
Yeah.
like a tangible sign that their father existed.
I mean...
It's during this trip that he digs even deeper into his family history. uncovers all this new information about his grandfather Onyango.
Yeah, like the circumstances surrounding his life and his marriages.
It's fascinating.
It is.
He learns about all the challenges Onyango faced.
Like navigating colonial rule.
Right.
And those complicated family dynamics.
His grandmother Habiba also shares these stories.
Oh, wow.
About Onyango's ambition.
Yeah.
His pride and his struggles. To reconcile his Luo identity with a changing world.
It's so interesting to get these glimpses into Kenyan society during that time, like the clash between tradition and modernity, the impact of colonialism, and the rise of new social and political movements.
And then he finds this book that belonged to his grandfather.
What book?
It was a domestic servant's pocket register from the 1920s.
Wow, that's incredible.
Do you imagine the weight of that object?
It's like holding history in your hand.
Yeah, direct link to the past.
Yeah, a reminder of his grandfather's experiences under colonial rule.
And the thumbprints on the inside cover.
Oh, wow.
They speak volumes about the systems of control back then.
And the erasure of individual identities.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
It makes you think about the lasting impact of colonialism.
Definitely.
On Kenyan society.
Absolutely.
He starts to see his grandfather's life within this broader context.
Understanding how historical forces shape individual destinies.
And then there's this conversation he has with Rukia.
Who's Rukia?
She's this prominent historian.
Okay.
And she challenges his romanticized ideas about Africa.
Oh, wow.
She emphasizes how important it is to recognize the complexities of African history.
Right.
And the ongoing struggles for social and political change.
Yeah.
She talks about confronting uncomfortable truths. Acknowledging the contradictions and challenges that African nations face.
It's about looking at the whole picture.
And her perspective is so crucial because it forces Obama to move beyond these simplistic narratives.
And embrace the messy realities of African identity and development.
Exactly.
So as he's about to leave Kenya for the second time, he has this realization.
What's that?
His journey isn't about finding all the answers. It's about embracing the multiplicity of his identity and recognizing the interconnectedness of human experiences.
It's about understanding that we're all connected.
In some way, he's learned to hold these seemingly contradictory truths.
And to acknowledge the nuances that make up a life. He's not searching for a single definition of himself anymore.
No.
He understands that identity is fluid, dynamic, and constantly evolving.
And it's with this new perspective that he returns to America.
Ready for the next chapter.
With a deeper understanding of himself and his place in the world.
His story really challenges us to examine our own assumptions.
Absolutely.
To move beyond those easy narratives.
Right.
And embrace the complexities of history, race, and identity.
He reminds us that the search for meaning is a lifelong journey.
And one that requires empathy, humility.
Yeah.
And a willingness to confront those uncomfortable truths.
Yeah. It feels like he's reached this culmination, but he's also just starting out.
Right.
Like he's woven together all these disparate threads.
Yeah.
His family, race, community, politics.
It's a rich tapestry.
Yeah, into this really beautiful whole. And I think by telling his story, he finds this real sense of agency.
Like it's more than just reflecting on the past.
Right.
It's about actively shaping the future.
Exactly. And you can really hear that shift in his voice.
Yeah.
There's a growing confidence in his perspective and vision.
And he's so honest about his struggles.
Yeah, he doesn't shy away from the hard stuff.
No, like those moments of uncertainty.
Right.
Grappling with these complex questions of identity and belonging.
It's what makes his story so relatable.
Yeah, he's not claiming to have all the answers. But he's inviting us to join the conversation.
To wrestle with these ideas alongside him.
And ultimately what shines through is this unwavering belief in the power of hope.
Yeah, that possibility of creating a more just and equitable society.
It's a message that feels so relevant right now.
Especially now.
Yeah.
And he recognizes that real lasting change.
Yeah.
It requires both individual and collective effort.
We have to confront injustice.
Absolutely.
But also foster understanding.
Right.
Build bridges. Recognize our shared humanity.
It's a balancing act.
Yeah.
His story reminds us that our personal stories matter.
Yeah.
That our experiences shape how we see the world. And they can inspire us to work towards a better future.
So as we kind of wrap up this exploration of Obama's journey, what are some of the key takeaways for you?
Oh, that's a good question.
How do his experiences kind of resonate with your own search for identity and meaning and purpose?
I think the biggest takeaway is that we're all constantly evolving.
Yeah.
We're shaped by our experiences, our relationships, the world around us.
It's a never-ending process.
It really is. And even amidst all the chaos and uncertainty, hope can be this powerful force for change.
It's such a timeless message.
It really is.
So as you continue on your own journey, remember that your story matters too.
It does.
It has the power to inspire and connect.
And contribute to a more just and compassionate world.
That's the audacity of hope that Obama embodies.
The belief that we can shape our own destinies.
Even when faced with seemingly insurmountable obstacles.
We can create a better tomorrow.
I think that's a great place to leave it. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Dreams from My Father.
It was my pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep seeking knowledge.